Well, good afternoon. Nadine Blaney here from AusBiz again. We are sorry for running just a couple of minutes late, but we've got a great presentation lined up for you. Bill Identity. It's an Australian-based tech company that primarily operates in Australia, New Zealand, the USA, and the UK, but it does manage bills for clients in more than 40 countries around the globe. Bill Identity's cloud-based platform simplifies the complex utility bill management process using its robotic process automation technology. So it enables organizations to have complete control over their utility spend. So it automates the management of every component of the process for multi-site companies. So that includes validating invoices and meter data. And the end goal is that clients can streamline their accounting and payments processes, optimizing supply contracts, and reducing billing charges. So in the first half of 2021, Bill Identity posted an 83% increase in platform subscription fee revenue over the same period last year, and it finished the half with a strong cash balance of more than $22 million. Now, before I introduce Managing Director Guy Maine, just a reminder that if you are joining this presentation and you would like to ask a question at the end of the presentation, you can type it into the platform. So where it says Q&A, whenever you like, as we're hearing the presentation. So without further ado, let's bring you Guy Maine. He is Managing Director of Bill Identity.
Great, good afternoon. Thanks very much for the introduction, and great that you've got a great grip on who we are, so fantastic. And look, there'll be a few people on the call that will know our story, and there'll be a few people on the call today that won't know our story. So I will track through very quickly a little bit of history about Bill Identity. So I've been with the business just over 3.5 years, originally an Australian-based tech business. We operate obviously utility bill management services in the Amazon cloud. We've quickly grown from an Australian and New Zealand presence into initially the United Kingdom around about 18 months ago, from where now we're starting to get traction into Europe, but also into the United States of America. And I'll talk a little bit more about that today, because I do want this session to be more about what we see going forward, rather than reporting on the half or previous years that we've just completed. But you can see by this map, we are on a global growth curve out of our original origins in Australia and New Zealand. And in a recent signing back in September of last year, we've started to work with a global organisation in Jones Lang LaSalle, and just picked up one of their first clients, a major global bank, where we're now operating in 37 countries for them. So we are on a global scaling mission. But what I would like to jump into is just talking a little bit about what makes us different. And the first element of what we do, we're not the first company in the world to, I'll just adjust that, to be managing utility bills on behalf of clients. And just so what we're very clear about what we do, I always say, think about getting a utility bill at your own home. You get that bill, it arrives, probably a bit of sticker shock when you first see the cost associated with your electricity spend. You probably don't go into too much detail. There's always maybe one or two that do, but you probably don't check against your contracted rates. You're not sure whether those kilowatt hours match your meter reads or not. And so you end up putting that into a certain day for payment. Now, what we do is we do that on the mass scale. So we deal with global enterprises, local enterprises who get thousands of these bills every month. Some of our clients get tens of thousands of these bills every month. And we manage that entire process of collection of bills all the way through to payment. And on each element, we're ensuring it's peace of mind for some clients. For other clients, we're making sure those bills are accurate, and also making sure that they get paid on time. Now, that's a very elementary feature of what we do. And as I said, others do that in the world. But where we stand out is we actually use robotic workers to do all the heavy lifting. So we have code and algorithms in our cloud. We have workers that can read bills utility by utility. We have workers that validate everything off that bill and compare to 7 years of historical data. We also have robotic workers that also manage exceptions. So we utilize the fourth revolution, which is robotics, to do what's being done manually. We do that at scale, we do it at speed, and we do it with accuracy that our competitors just can't catch up to. So that's really our core point of difference. What I will add to that is, as I talk more about the next point around the winds of change globally, you know, we really offer our clients a service that we've yet to find a comparison to globally. And that is, if you're utilizing data and that data is driving business decisions, you know, if you can get that data that's deeper, that's faster, that's more accurate, and a very important point here is that it is auditable in that we utilize the bill of record to get that data, then you're going to have speed and agility in the marketplace better than your competitors. So I just want to talk about more going forward. What are the mega trends that we see driving our business through this calendar year and into the new financial year? One point I've made, and I've made for some time, is that, you know, the world is going through a decarbonisation moment. We're moving from dirty power generation of energy into that is green provided. So this whole decarbonisation of energy, it's been with us for some years. It has created intense volatility in pricing, and it's also drawn the attraction of boards and CFOs around the world, in terms of they know that there's benefits, they know there's money to be saved if they manage this very important category very well. And this volatility is going to be around for some time, and anyone who follows the electricity markets in Australia will know that in 2017 we saw a tripling of prices, and now more recently we've seen a 20 to 30% drop in prices because of green streams of energy coming on board. But two of the most important drivers that we're seeing right now is this push for sustainability and this drive for net zero emission targets by very large enterprises. I think Fortescue came out during last week saying that they wanted to reach a carbon neutral footprint. I think it was by 2035, excuse me if I'm slightly wrong, but the point is they've made a goal and they need now to work to that goal. Now, everything around this has to revolve around data. If you don't have the accurate auditable data, and if you don't get that timely, then you will probably report incorrectly, or you won't meet your own benchmarks or hurdles or timelines. And so we see a small wind of change here for our community in terms of us playing a leading role in that regard. And just as an example, one of the reasons Jones Lang LaSalle came to us with a global bank was that it was taking them 40 to 45 days to get data into their sustainability engine, which provides the reports to that bank on how they're tracking in terms of their global emissions. And we've, through our robotic workforce, have been able to bring that down to 4 or 5 days. So very important factor for us going forward, and certainly I think bringing some winds of change in terms of our business. So in terms of our performance, just a quick highlight for you all. We are a consistent growth performer. We grew our revenues in the last half year on year by 60%. Our platform was actually up 84%, and we do have a couple of revenue streams, but our SaaS revenues were up 84%. And I think in terms of our compound annual growth rate, it's over 70% over the last 2 years. So we are a growth business. As I said, our focus now is on the UK and Europe and the USA, and very much around these global multinational multi-sites. We are investing behind our business, especially in the USA. For those that look at our financials would have seen that in the first half of our FY21 numbers. We're doing that on purpose. We know we've got a right to play in these global markets, but we also need the right teams to ensure that we see success. So we've been building out our capabilities specifically in the US, and more recently we bought a software business in the UK that has further strengthened our operations there, our revenues and our balance sheet, and we're pretty excited by that development. The other part of what we've been focused on is building out our executive team and then certainly our board team. We've had some great recent additions to our board, including David Hancock, who was originally with Afterpay, and more recently, we've announced our new chairman, Peter Tonner. Peter was the CEO and COO of News Limited and CFO and CEO of Foxtel in his time, and comes from a background of consulting with Bain. So he's particularly good at what we want him to do, which is to keep us focused on global growth. So I'll just jump through, and I'm going to skip over the financials, and I just want to talk about the calendar year ahead for 2021 and give you some insight into what we're focused on. So this is just bounced one slide. So the important thing for us in terms of our growth this year is that we are very much focused on our priorities. And the first is that we want a scalable, repeatable, global platform. And I'll talk about the 4 products that we take to market. But for us to get significant scale, which is really what this calendar year is about, we want to be able to be repeatable. And what I mean by that is that we are a true software player in that regard, that we can launch with one of our products into a new client. We don't have to do any configuration. They can access it and be able to utilize it immediately. We are very much focused on these global scale partnerships. I think what our business has proven over the last 2 years is we're very good at building our direct one-on-one relationships with geographically landlocked businesses or enterprises. We consistently grow quarter in, quarter out. And what we want to do now is actually take that capability to the global scale. And where we offer a point of difference is with robotic workers, we don't have to be in the country to be able to collect a bill. We can send a robotic worker into a electricity portal to drag PDF bills out and be able to digitize that data into our cloud platform. We have robotic workers that can read bills, and they can actually read different languages. And so that gives us significant advantages in terms of collection, because really you have to be good at collecting that bill and getting data of that bill to be able to service those multi-site multinationals. In regards to our existing clients, we're very focused this year about growing our commodities. So at the moment, our focus is electricity, it's gas, and we've got workers that can obviously manage those bills for us. But especially in the USA, increasingly, we're starting to see growth in other commodities outside of those 2 energy-based ones. And that includes water, taxes, things like telco and broadband. And I'll show you soon what that looks like from a US perspective. And lastly, it's about growing our geographies. And as I mentioned with JOL, now in 37 countries, we're in 40 countries overall. We want to continue to grow with our client base and increase our global reach. Sorry, I'll just get to this slide. So in terms of our product portfolio, I mentioned our direct enterprise to enterprise relationship. We call that the utility bill management bill stream. That's everything from bill collection, bill validation, which is making sure the bill's right, management of exceptions, all the way through to paying bills on our client's behalf. And that's a one-on-one relationship that we enact globally. More recently, in the last 6 to 12 months, we've taken components of our IP and our capabilities, and we're now targeting energy retailers and utility retailers themselves. And that's not too far of a reach for us, because we're very much focused around where bills are, so where bills hang out, for want of a better explanation. So we get hundreds and thousands of bills by building a relationship with someone like Optus or Toll, who are clients of ours. But when we get to retailers themselves, they also deal with tens of thousands of clients and bills. And we have a solution that for those retailers that can digitize their client journeys in a white label solution and make accessing data. If you're a client wanting to build a 3-year business plan around your energy consumption, then we make that simple and easy to use. And for us, that's a very important plan we do get higher margins there, and we get a significant scale, and that's what SaaS businesses are all about. So we've got two existing relations here in Australia with Momentum and Origin. We deal with some global clients over in the UK and Europe with Contact and BP, and we've got some pilots underway in New Zealand and the US, a very important one in the USA at the moment. And we're really trying to build the bench strength of our capabilities in each of our markets, because from that, our capable sales team can sell further. The third element, parsing as a service, you may not have heard this term before, but this is what we really do for JLL. We collect bills globally, we translate them, we digitize that bill data, and we push it into their sustainability platform. And for us, that's a really low touch, high volume, solid margin opportunity. And we think this will further accelerate, as I mentioned, as we get into and behind these goals around sustainability and net zero targets. And lastly, we do work with a small bunch of SME players, and in one respect with iSelect in the residential market, where we provide a one-on-one relationship opportunity. So we can take a residential bill, we can digitize that data, push it into iSelect's recommendation engine, and they're able to perform a comparison. So whilst it's residential and SME is not our core, we are very much an enterprise play. We're very much a large multi-site play. We certainly see scope for especially the SME market into the future. So what will you see from us this year? We're really going to drive the uptake in our key geographies, and especially we're getting around the US. The US is emerging from all their troubles they've had through the year, but the COVID excuses are gone. That market's starting to show some green bamboo shoots. The pipeline that we have has certainly never looked stronger into Q4. And interestingly, we're starting to see a cavalcade of RFPs and RFIs be issued in the market for what we do, and we're certainly responding on those. So we've skilled up our team in the US. We've got a new SaaS leadership, and we've built out our business development, our field marketing, as well as our obviously our sales lead generation teams over there. So for us, USA will be very much a Q4 strategy. We will focus, as I mentioned, on these large scale channels, and we have around about 4 or 5 discussions ensuing at the moment. We are dealing with these global majors, and for us, that's the first time we can really get at scale into these one-to-many relationships. And I'm pretty keen this year and through this year to be able to build out, 2 or 3 of those at least that we can actually implement and build out and add significantly to what we do. I've spoken about our replicability, and as I mentioned, that probably the last one that we're very much focused on this year is in accelerating our automation. And what I mean by that is in Australia, we're fully automated. In the UK, we're almost there. We're in terms of the high 80s to 90s in terms of automation, which is, there's no hands involved in terms of the collection and validation of bills. But in the US, we're dealing with over 3,800 individual energy retailers who have a number of bill series themselves. And so we're building out our automation there to provide a much richer experience in that market. We're around about 46% automated overall, if you consider the lower 48 states. So if a client came on board, we can almost do half of the bill series that we come across via automation. But right now we're working on accelerating that. We'd like to be able to bring forward that revenue opportunity in the US by getting that percentage much higher, much faster. And that we believe we can do that through some latest coding and algorithm capabilities in terms of building robotic workers, massively bringing down the time it takes for us to be able to read a bill in terms of development from a number of weeks into hopefully less than a day. And if we're able to do that, which we've got a good degree of confidence on, we think we can really accelerate that market in the US. So just lastly, I'm just going to talk about a little bit about the US market in detail. And I just want to explain why we're so interested about that, and then I'll open up for questions. Our bill numbers just in the first half of 21 have doubled through some onboardings. But what's most important here is when we sign a client up in the US, we tend to get more than just an electricity and gas bill like we would see here in Australia with a client. And what they do over there is they outsource what they call their utility wallet. So if they want to outsource their complete AP system for utility bills, they don't want to have to deal with, odds and sods. So we don't just get electricity and gas. We're starting to get voice bills, so landline, telephones. As you can see there, we're starting to get broadband and data bills. And in fact, if you look at, that's actually a snapshot of our platform. You can see in our drop-down menu now, we have a large number of commodities that we service. Now, the beauty of this is it's a significant revenue lever for us because for every bill type that we manage, we charge a fee, and that's how we earn our SaaS revenues. So we have recently launched with clients with, say, 900 individual sites, but they will give us 4,500 bills to manage. So we're building out our capabilities in the US region by region. As I mentioned, we want to accelerate that with automation. And we also want to accelerate our capabilities across commodities. So they're the key elements I just wanted to talk about today, and then perhaps I could hand back to Ozbiz to ask or facilitate any questions. So back over to you.
Great, thank you so much. We've got a question coming in saying, what gross profit margin % are you achieving, and what do you hope to get to?
Yeah, we haven't released our gross margin figures, and it does differ by product. And the best way to answer this is also by geography. I mean, clearly our gross margin's lower in developing countries like the USA, where we have some manual intervention. Now we're working on that. It's obviously very much dependent on how many robotic workers we have for the bill series that we get issued. So you would expect lower margins in that geography. In geographies like Australia, our margins are much higher because we can bring on enterprise clients and pretty much hands-free just to include them in our bill stream, and we haven't had to add any additional headcount for that. We are intending in our full year numbers to start giving further SaaS metrics. We've started that with this first half presentation. We just starting to build out those half-yearly and full-yearly reports. So that question will be answered very well at the full-year number.
Okay, now when it comes to the challenges that you're facing in the United States, I mean, I know that that's very much a focal point for growth going forward, but what are the risks in the execution there?
Yeah, so for us, it comes down to the pace and speed of automation. What we do know in the US market is that there is no one like us. There are a large number of energy brokers or utility bill management companies who do what we do, but they do it with what we call semi-automated processes, or they grab what's called EDI data or data that's pre-bill issue. So we know we have a really strong role to play there. And to reduce the risk there, the first thing that we've done is built out our team with SaaS professionals from that market. So number one, we haven't taken folk from here, implanted them into the US, and I think a lot for those that are involved with US businesses, US to US is much easier than Oz to US. The second part of that is we bought a business in the US 3.5 years ago. It's been our Trojan horse. It has already built relationships with both retailers and major multi-sites. So we do have a path to grow our utility bill management capabilities. And lastly, it's now about, I talk about a conjunction of a few things in the US. One is the market returning to normal, which they're expecting. Most are talking about herd immunity by July 1. And we're starting to see that market perform. Second part for us is making sure we have the team in place, which we're very much complete just in the last few months. And the third is the automation secret. And if we can ensure that we have a highly automated, less manual solution, we think that de-risks our opportunity in that market and provides a significant point of difference to our competition.
Great. Guy, thank you so much for the presentation. Good to learn more about bill identity. We thank you for your time in the presentation.
Thanks very much. Have a good afternoon and a good weekend.
You too.